Hey,
Hey man, how you doing?
good man. How are you?
Good, thank you. So I'm shocking with this sort of stuff, and I've been trying to set it up on my laptop and get it all working. So I'm just a little bit slow.
That's all right. No worries at all. I always, I always like log in and then like always forget how to get like the link to invite someone. So I'm like going through all the things and it's like I do it every time, but I just like forget. So I get it. Just
Yeah, wow,
technology.
it's such a pain.
How's your morning been?
Good man, busy. We've had a productive little Sunday, so it's always nice. What about yourself?
Yeah, good, good. Thank you. Work this morning, so a bit tired, but good. Don't have to work for the rest of the week, so excited.
Nice, that's always good. What do you do for work?
I work in a bakery, so I do the early mornings because what it's like not funny, but it's like it's just funny. The guy who like is like the main baker, so he works like the Saturday and Sundays, and he's got schizophrenia, so he's not trusted to be in the store by himself. Normally, like we'll go and like start at like 5 or something, but because he's like not trusted to be in the store by himself because he doesn't have like the keys to open up in that. So someone has to kind of accompany him. So I get
Yeah,
stuff like that, but it doesn't
jeez.
bother me.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because you messaged, yeah, even last week when you said you were going to be working at, did you say like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or something?
Yeah. Sometimes two, sometimes two, sometimes three. So like I either wake up at 1 or 2, but at least it's like majority only like the weekend. So
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
too
it's not too
bad.
bad.
But yeah, you gotta roll with it.
Yeah, that's it. Just got to get it done when you can.
Yeah. How was your I think I saw a photo shoot yesterday.
Yeah, so we had a team photo shoot yesterday. So the wife and I started online coaching together. We started the
Yeah.
new paradigm together. And yeah, we had our first team photo shoot, so which is cool. It's been a lot of work, which she only takes care of 90% of the legwork with that, which with all the back end stuff.
Yeah.
So my part in the day is pretty much just moving anything heavy around and making sure I'm there. But
Yeah.
it was a big day, but it was amazing. A lot of the girls, it was their first photo shoot. So it was like just making sure they feel comfortable,
Mm.
making sure they like can embrace it and settle in and enjoy the day and like just enjoy the whole experience. And that was really good.
Yeah, it's cool. I've always thought those things were like really fascinating and fun and like kind of like I can imagine how stressful it can be to kind of like set it up, but then also I guess like how rewarding it must be having all the people that have like been a part of the challenge and kind of seeing them happy with the results or happy with like being in there and making them feel comfortable. And I can imagine like it just being a really like monumental moment for like you and the clients.
It's massive, man. Especially with like a lot of the females in particular we're working with at the moment. They're either very new to their fitness journey
Mm.
or obviously lacking a little bit of self confidence and things like that. That's why a lot of the times they start these challenges. So it's all very new for them and it's very much outside their comfort zone. So it's like we're establishing the routine and the habits and the structure in like we run it for the 12 weeks before the photo shoot where we're teaching them the lifestyle, we're teaching
Mm.
them the healthy habits and the stuff that obviously we would like to last a lifetime. But then they have this photo shoot as sort of like a a way of accountability for the work we're trying to implement
Yeah.
throughout the 12 weeks. And then B, it's also to show them like to get that self confidence. Like a lot
Mm.
of times it's a bit of an awkward thing, these girls. It's amazing for them because they rock up and their makeup is done, their hair's done, they've all got tans done beforehand and stuff like that. And so they're all glammed up, they're all feeling good. But then obviously when you're working with a photographer, the photographer's telling you, put your hand here, lean here, do
Yeah.
then you feel like you're in a really awkward position. But then when you get to see the photos, all the girls are like, holy shit, like they
Yeah.
get to see them, like they look amazing. And
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
whole new lease on life sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
Literally.
it's really cool to be a part of.
That's so true. So like I've just like started getting into me and my partner. We just like started that's what we're doing when we're not at the bakery, photography and that and
Yep.
videography. And we were at a, boxing studio
Nice.
and getting a whole bunch of shots and videos of like this she's like owned it for 30 years. She's a boxer herself and she runs like classes and stuff outside of it. And she has a
Yep.
couple of fighters and we were just coming in and yeah, doing some photos and videos. And one of the ladies, um, I didn't realize at the time she was like camera shy.
Yep.
And so, because obviously she had told everyone, okay, like these people are coming in to take photos and videos, and no one had any complaints. But it wasn't until like as I was taking some of the photos and videos, I kind of noticed that she was kind of like looking a bit nervous. So like I went up to her and like was like, oh hey, like is everything okay? Like, and I went and showed her some of the photos, and she was like, oh my gosh, these are amazing. She goes, I'm so sorry, I'm just really
Yep.
camera shy, but like thank you for showing me these. These are amazing, and it's really cool. I think like the power of I guess like photography in that way. It's like these people that
100%.
are not feeling as confident, and then you kind of get through that little awkward stage, and then they see the results, and then they just fall in love with it.
Yep, and it's like that little process after they see their first little shots. You see them dive into it. Then after that,
Yeah,
they're like, they start feeling themselves. They know they look good. They got this
yeah,
whole new bout of confidence, and the rest of the photos, they just feel like $1 million, and it's like that stamp in time that they then have forever.
yeah. It's great. Someone I was talking to, Jared, another competitor, he was saying to me, and I never actually even thought about it that way, but it's such a good point too. He said, like, if you haven't stepped on stage yet and you're like nervous about doing like a prep, he's like, you should diet for a photo shoot.
Yep,
And then there's no like real, I guess, like extra pressure, but then you can kind of see what the process is like, see if you enjoy it. Then you'll know if you want to do a prep or not. But then at least if you like back out, it was just a photo shoot and you can still go through with it. I thought it was
it's
a really good
exactly
mentality.
yeah, it's exactly what we did with one of my girls, Chelsea. It
Yeah.
was she wanted to do she wants to do a bodybuilding show next year. She's quite young. She's only 21.
Yeah.
And she was just a little bit unsure. So we're like, well, let's use this 12-week photo shoot as a mini prep.
Yeah,
We're
it's
like,
cool.
well, we'll just structure it like a prep. You can see, obviously, we'll try and get you as lean as we can within the 12 weeks, and you can start to see how you feel, how you like handle the requirements of your of standard prep, where we're just doing it much to a lesser degree for a photo shoot.
Yeah.
But it's like you get to dip your toe. You get to
Yeah.
get a feeling for you are going to be a little bit tired by the end of it. You're going to have a lot of things to tick off from your day to day life. And you can treat it as like a bit of a mini prep. We had in this photo shoot, we actually had a wide variety of girls. Like we had Chelsea who was treating it like a little bodybuilding prep. We had girls that obviously just wanted it as the accountability with the photo shoot at the end. We also had girls in there that had like I can't remember exactly what the surgery is, but the gastric band surgery,
Yeah.
or I can't remember if it was the gastric band or when you have part of your stomach removed.
Yeah.
And she had lost like 25 kilos in the process as well.
That's
And obviously,
great.
she was a little bit overweight with some unhealthy
Yeah.
habits and just used it to completely restructure her life. And she used it as that stamp in time of a new lease on life, a new beginning. So it was really cool to see just such a wide variety of girls. They all come, they all had an amazing time, they all really got along, and everyone just had an absolute blast.
That's awesome. Nah, it's definitely, I think, one of the most rewarding things about coaching is kind of being able to experience that with your clients, seeing them kind of hit their milestones or their results and knowing like you've been a part of that journey.
100%. And I think with a lot of us, I work with a lot of different people as well. Like I work with anywhere from athletes to just general population, people wanting to lose weight, not even look like a bodybuilder. And each of them for myself was just as rewarding. Like I've had mums that have lost 25 to 30 kilos, and like the joy you can see it brings them for me is the exact same as like someone getting on a bodybuilding stage. Like the difference it makes for people is massive.
It's awesome. It's funny. Like, I think it's always interesting, like, kind of like you hear like some the accountability issues with like coaching gen pop, and like how some people will kind of only want to prefer to coach like athletes, and then some people go, oh, I'm not confident that I only want to coach gen pop. But I think like what you said, kind of having that versatility, and if you can find someone that's willing to trust you, and kind of you kind of work with that their accountability that they got to grow with, it is like you said, just like super rewarding.
Yeah, anyone that's happy to do the work, and which obviously the work is a varying scale from person to person. Like a mum trying to lose 25, 30 kilos over an extended period of time, she might be training 4 days a week and trying to hit 8,000 steps a day and stuff, not like a bodybuilder training 5 days a week
Yeah.
and could have high output and low food and stuff like that. Like the degree of what they're doing is very different, but the outcome can be the same and the reward is the same.
Well, before we kind of, I want to talk about some of the coaching and like coaching with your wife. But before that, just for anyone who's listening that kind of, I guess, doesn't know who you are or wants to kind of understand how you became a bodybuilder and how you kind of came into being a coach, why don't you just kind of share, like, would you say you found bodybuilding, bodybuilding found you? Like, kind of how did your journey start?
I think I kind of found bodybuilding. So I started very similar to most like teenage boys when I was getting ready to finish year 12. Schoolies was coming up, and I just wanted to look good for schoolies. That was essentially it. I started to go into gym 3 or 4 days a week with a bunch of friends from school, trying to get ready for schoolies by the end of the year. And I was I was a little bit of a I wasn't a troublemaker, but I enjoyed to party a little bit too much when I was young, and I ended up getting myself in a heap of trouble before I finished year 12. I ended up with a police curfew, a bunch of community service. I had to go to court and stuff like that, and I didn't even end up being able to go to my own schoolies. I couldn't leave Queensland, couldn't leave my house from
Yeah.
6 p.m. till 5 in the morning, and it was within that time where everyone sort of got to continue living their life. And I was sort of forced. I was working at BCF at the time, just as a school thing. All I could do was sort of go to work and then go to gym and then go home. And I sort of had this little period where all I did was go to the gym and really just keep to myself. And it was when I started to really build that consistency. I started to see the the results you get from that consistency, where then gym started to take priority over other things. There was a small period where I continued to do both. Like I continued to party, continued to go to gym. And it was like you started again every single Monday. You started again every single Monday.
Yeah.
And I continued to get myself into trouble and just waste money. And it got to a point where I couldn't even pay for my own car reg. I was living at home. I was 18. I was earning good money at the time as well. So I had a heap of savings at one point. And then it got to the point where I couldn't even pay my own registration. So I had to ask my mum. I said, Mum, can I borrow some money to pay for my car reg?
Yeah.
She's like, what do you mean? How do you not have money for your car registration? I was like, I just don't. It's due tomorrow. And she cracked it. She went through all of my bank statements, pulled on my bank statements, and we
Oh
went
no.
through all of the money I'd spent
Yeah.
I'd only been 18 for about 3 months at that point,
Yeah.
and we had added up, and I'd spent it was like 12 or 13 grand that I'd
Crazy.
that I'd spent in the previous 3 months just in going out again.
Yeah.
And it was I should have had this realization early, but it was just another realization of like, okay, we're being a little bit silly here. So I utilized that time. Me and a mate said, okay, we're going to do 12 weeks, no drinking, and just get into the gym. And then it was within those 12 weeks that I met my now wife, Shioni.
Mhm.
And so that's where we met at that period. And she thought I was this responsible young 18-year-old that was just focusing on fitness. She didn't really know too much about the reasons why I was doing 12 weeks of no drinking. And it was within that time that, again, I just really started to build that consistency, realized like if I wasn't starting again every Monday,
Yeah.
the progress you can start to make. And I ended up just flourishing in it. Like I really enjoyed it. So again, it just sort of shifted my priorities where gym started to come first. I stopped going out. I stopped partying. I started to do a lot of research. I started to sort of like dive into the world of bodybuilding, and I just started to make good progress. I started to make good progress. People started to notice. So you started to get that, like at that time, it's external validation where
Yeah.
people are telling you like, "Oh man, you're growing. What are you doing? What are you like? What's going on?" So I just started answering questions and just started sort of coaching, not sort of coaching people for free, where you're just sort of offering advice. And I was just writing people programs literally on like a piece of paper at the gym. So I just
Yeah.
write
That's
people
so good.
programs and just doing meal plans. Same thing. We just like sit at the gym and we just write out a meal plan for some of my mates and stuff. And then it got to a point where like the people that I was helping were getting good results. So it kind of just flowed from there. And then at the time, I wasn't even doing anything with it for money. I was just
Mm.
doing it all for free, sort of thing. And again, it was showing my partner that I was like, why don't you actually look into this a little bit more? So that's when I did my cert 3 and 4 and everything like that, and actually started getting into coaching and personal training and stuff as an actual job.
That's cool. I really like that it kind of was like almost like a domino effect. You kind of just did the challenge with your mates, kind of met her, kind of was like, okay, let's try this. Let's see where we can push the progress. You're obviously making it. People were kind of like, this is cool. Like, how are you doing it? And then yeah, it just all naturally fell into place where then you started, I guess, coaching. And then you had
Yep,
someone in that corner to kind of go, let's give that little bit of a push to see where it goes.
100%. And it just kind of naturally flowed. Like it was something that obviously brought me a lot of joy. It pulled me away from sort of going down the wrong tracks and kept my head on the right path, sort of thing. And then I seen the confidence because I was always a very skinny kid as well. Like I left year 12 at 60 kilos, wringing wet. Like I was a very skinny little white boy, sort of typical. And like I utilized drinking and partying as that, like I needed that false confidence because that's what made me feel good at the time.
Yeah.
And that's where like you start to realize, like you go to gym, you build that self-confidence, and you start to build confidence in who you are just because you know like you're good at what you're doing. And you start to build like that natural confidence, that actual confidence that lasts. And then you sort of like, well, I don't need to drink. I don't need that external validation. Like, and it's the the more confident you are and the more comfortable you are as a person, the less you sort of need that external validation and the less you need those vices and things like that. So it just,
100%.
yeah. And then it was just, I seen the positive impacts it was having on my life, and I seen the positive impacts I was then having on other people's lives. And of course, it's normally like as a male, you just sort of float along in life and don't take anything too seriously. But she only was one that sort of pushed me to like actually progress and
Yeah.
chase this as a career sort of thing.
So two questions. Did you meet her at the gym or you just met her at like a social gathering? Was she also kind of like into fitness or how did that kind of work?
I met her through a mutual friend. So
Yeah.
I worked with one of her friends at BCF, and she came into BCF with him one day, and we were just sort of chatting as friends. And then when they left, she was kind of just like, "Oh, he was really nice." And then I popped up as a suggested friend on Facebook back in the day,
Yeah.
and she passed him her phone, saying like, "Oh, is this your friend from BCF?" So he actually added me and then messaged me on Facebook saying like, "Hey, how you going?" or something like
Yeah.
that. And then that just sort of like started the conversation, and I just kept it going, and that's where we met from there. But she was into gym at the time. She was doing like a lot of running and a lot of CrossFit and stuff like that. And I was working, so I drive boats. I was doing it full time as well. So I'm a commercial skipper, and I was working 5 to 6 days a week and doing very big days. And I'd always, no matter what time I finished, I'd always go to the gym
Mm.
after work. And she was getting a little bit shitty because we just weren't seeing each other a
Yeah.
whole lot. And I was just like, well, come to the gym with me. Like, come to the gym after work. So she started to come to the gym with me. She was doing CrossFit at the time and wanted to like, typical, she wanted to like build a booty and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And then I was seeing the stuff she was doing at CrossFit. I'm like, well, none of this
Gonna
is
work.
is going to
Yeah.
work or be in alignment with what you're wanting. So she started to come to gym, and I was helping her at gym, and then we started going together, and it all sort of flowed from there. And she's now competed. She's competed way more than I have. She's competed. We've gone to New York, and she won her natural pro card. And we competed in the natural,
So cool.
yeah, natural pro. I can't remember exactly what show it is, but the like pro Olympia over in New York. She's competed, and that she's done really well herself.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Power couple.
Yeah, yeah, she's definitely done way better than I have.
When you were saying about the meal plans, were you when you were writing them out for the people at the gym, were they macros, or was it just kind of like, chicken, rice, like, this, or were you kind of was like the
That
real
was
old school way of doing it, meal plan?
Man, that was back in the old school days. This
Yeah.
was I didn't get introduced to macros a little bit later on. This was still in the day where literally no one was doing macros. It wasn't quite a thing yet. So it was just like 5 meals a day, 200 grams of chicken, 100 grams of rice, a little bit of vegetables, heaps like sweet potato and stuff like that at that time. It was all just completely boring, basic bodybuilding food.
Oh
It
yeah.
wasn't until I think I got my first coach, Joey Cantlin, in 2018. I believe I signed with him, and he was sort of one of the first ones doing macros at that time. So
Yeah.
he
He,
introduced me to macros.
he's a great coach. He
He's
he's got
amazing,
like
man.
yeah, he's got like quite a lot of he does a lot of natty athletes, I'm pretty sure.
I
And
would I would put him up there as one of the best in Australia for
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
coaching in general, but especially like his natural athletes are just
Yeah.
amazing.
I've seen quite a few, quite a few of his clients, and like, yeah, they're definitely like coming in sharp. Like, yeah, I would agree. He's definitely up there with like a few of the other coaches.
Yeah, so he was the one that then took like I had a good typical like gym level amount of knowledge, but then he progressed me to the next level in macros. Where back then my protein was just like through the roof. Protein was through the roof, and I was eating a shitload of broccoli and
Yeah.
carbs around my workout, and then that was about it. And he's like, okay, let's pull this protein way back down. Let's push these carbohydrates high. And then again, it was like that new starting point where we just started making amazing progress all over again.
It's cool. It's like one thing that I love about the gym is like you can always learn something new and it's always like rewarding. Of course, sometimes some things don't work, but like you said, it's like you were doing one thing that was working, and especially because it's like that whole like newbie gains, and then you're actually being also consistent, and then you're seeing like kind of, the fruits of your labor grow, and then you get the coach, and then he goes, "Oh, well, let's try something completely different." But this is going to help you more, and then all of a sudden you see a new level of growth, and it's
Yep.
just it's funny. Like I like to think of it as like a sport that kind of really does keep on giving.
100%. It's forever evolving. It even like going from Joey, I was with Joey for probably 2 years. I did my first show with Joey. Then after that, I went to Dean McKillop, and it was the exact
Another
same thing.
amazing coach.
Dean McKillop then in another world, like in the enhancement world, again, I think would be second to none. So it was like I was trying to align myself with people that you want to emulate, that you wanted to
Yeah,
be like. And I knew I was already sort of crossed over into the enhancement world. And I just knew the level of knowledge Dean McKillop had was just
crazy.
crazy, second to none. And I was trying to learn as much as I possibly could. So you sort of almost sign up with these coaches as like you're trying to just get as much knowledge from them as you can while
Yeah.
they're coaching you at the same time.
You've done, I remember you competed 2023, came first in your class, and Dean was
The
coaching you.
heavyweights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dean was coaching you there. And then did you do an IFBB with Joey, or was the IFBB shows with Dean?
I did RP with Joey back in 2018. I did Classic at the time.
Yeah.
And that was, again, it was a different world back then. So, like
100%.
with, it was a different world. It was very much like that was back in the days where 8 weeks out, you went to Test P and like Trend A and all this sort of stuff that
Yeah.
I just, it almost destroyed my body, to be honest. Like, it's not stuff I would ever touch again. It did not work at the time. I think I lost probably 20 something kilos in that prep and was still out of shape.
That's
Was still out of shape.
crazy.
It was just, I looked, it was not a good prep. I looked terrible. Terrible. Learned a lot, and my
Yeah.
body does not handle inflammation really well. It's something we've
Yeah.
learned over time. Like, I have massive fluid shifts, and if I push too far, my body will start to run away, and
Yeah.
you can't get it back. So
Now
yeah,
look,
that was.
oh, sorry, you go.
I was going to say, so yeah, that prep was a massive learning curve, and I went all the way through. It looked
Yeah.
absolutely terrible. I think I was 80. I think the start of prep, I was just over 100 kilos, probably about 104 kilos, 103 kilos, and ended up being 86 kilos on stage. And I was just watery and soft and nowhere near what I needed to be.
Least you kind of like, even though I guess you like missed the mark, you kind of hit rock bottom. So then, like, somewhere you can either kind of go up from there, and then like, yeah.
100%.
So
Yeah,
it
100%.
worked out in its own way. And like you said, you kind of learned the most that you needed to learn, and that's, I think, the biggest thing. Sometimes I think people put too much pressure on stepping on stage, whether it's the first time or whether it's their fifth time. They put way too much pressure. It's kind of like you want to take each time as a learning experience. So even if things don't work out, you're just getting more data. Like bodybuilding is data at the end of the day, and you know, you're only going to learn by making mistakes.
100%. Especially like anyone's first time on stage. You can never be prepared enough. Like it doesn't matter how much you practice your posing. It doesn't matter how long you've spent in the gym previous to that first time competing. You never know just in the prep setting itself, like getting down to those level of body fats, you don't know how your body's going to respond. You don't know how easily you'll get there, how hard it will be, how much cardio you need to do, how low food will be. You don't know anything about those results. And then also like posing on stage is a completely different ball game. Like it doesn't matter how much you practice it, you need that experience of being on stage to fine tune it from that point.
Yeah, because it's like that whole thing of why you should. It's kind of like cardio. You should do cardio like when you're off season, when you're on prep, and then it's kind of the same thing. You should be posing in the off season, and like obviously when you're like getting ready to step on stage. Because yeah, when you're maybe 80 kilos compared to then like when stage lean, then compared to your off season weight, and then when you come back down for your next show, you may be a bit more heavier than you were the first time, but. You got to kind of get your body used to what that feeling is, just like you do when you
Yeah,
reach new off-season weight, carrying that all around. I guess it's the same thing with posing. It's still interesting to see, like, it's just funny. Like, I think there's a lot of talk about people going, yeah, posing is important, posing this. We've got a whole lot of new posing coaches now that, wasn't back around like 2018, 2019. But the
yeah.
thing is, like, you still don't see good posing, like whether in the pro level or even just at the amateur shows. It's one of those things. It's like, are people just being lazy? It's interesting.
Posing is such a hard thing, and I think when you're on stage, the things like when you'll see people put up posing videos online all the time and it looks amazing. But then when you're on stage, the time difference where you're hitting beautiful transitions and stuff
Yeah,
like that to when you're on stage, it's like you don't have time to do that. And it's generally like their first round, they realize like, oh shit, I don't have time to do all these transitions. I don't have time to really sit on my glute and throw like the side tricep before hitting your side chest. It's like, no, you need to just sit and hit straight away. And then that generally throws people out. So it's like we were saying, it's all part of that learning curve where some people then they do that for the first time and go, holy shit, okay, I need to be 10 times faster to get into this
yeah.
pose than I thought I needed to be. And then
definitely.
you see the photos of what it looks like on stage to what you think it looks like in a posing room, and it's completely different. Same thing with like a side chest. They're like, oh shit, I need to turn way more than I have been. I need to pick my chest up way higher than I have been. I need to jam my bicep in way harder than I have been. It's like things that look good in a posing room where you're like, people will think they're nailing it, and then you get on stage and like that looks completely different to what it looked like in the posing room.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Such a good point. So now that it's been, I guess, what, 2 years since you've been on stage, do you plan on competing next year? Because you're like some of the recent videos you've been putting on your story, you're looking good. You're looking like you put on some decent size.
Yeah, I've recently started with George. So I'm with
Mhm.
George under Flex Success as well. And we were getting ready for a push phase, and we just needed to do a bit of a tie. I was probably about 108 to 109 kilos. We just wanted to do a bit of a tie up before moving into a push. And we've sort of got ourselves in a pretty good position. Like I'm much leaner than I have been. I'm much heavier than I have been. So we're still, the plan will be to now progress into a push phase. I'd like to get back to like 108 to 110 kilos, but stay in obviously much better condition. I've been up to 115 and 116 before. That's always fairly chubby. That's a lot of water weight and stuff like that as well. But the aim this time would be to stay much tighter. And then I would love to compete next year. I would
Mhm.
absolutely love to, but we're trying to line up life. We've got so many things on next year with the new business going on. Plus, we've got a lot of travel. I just need to try and align some things to make sure I can get on stage. And it's not overextending because once that last prep that I did, I actually overreached
Mm.
massively. And it was probably one of the worst preps in my life. Even though I placed, it was the worst prep I've ever done. I did not enjoy it. It was absolutely terrible the whole time. I probably should have pulled out of that prep, but I'm extremely stubborn and I
Even if
just
you
didn't.
didn't, I guess it's kind of rewarding, even though it was so mentally hard that you got a placing. Like I guess it kind of you like that's the thing. If you pulled out, that would have never happened.
It's so funny because I struggled for a really long time with that being the prep that I actually placed in because every
Yeah.
other prep I've completely nailed. Never missed a beat. Enjoyed the whole time. Obviously, you enjoy it to the degree where you're still very tired and you're drained and stuff. But I love the process and I've loved it the entire time. With this one, there was days where I was just like, I hate this. Like I was so overworked that I was waking up at 3 a.m. to do cardio. I was working 12 hours a day. I'd be training at 8 p.m. at night. I'd be coming home. I'd be doing steps till like 11 o'clock at night. I'd go to sleep. I'd be up at 3 and I'd be doing the exact same thing the
Crazy.
next day. And I'd just wake up with that, like, I don't want to do this. Like, it was
Yeah.
such a burning, like, I don't want to do this.
Like
But I
you're
was
just
just
like
for
hating it.
hating it, man. I was hating it. I was really struggling. But I'm so stubborn. I was like, it doesn't matter how I feel. I just knew I was going to get it done. But then it was condition was really struggling. So then I was doing the typical, which is any competitor listening to this, do not do this. But I was doing the standard, like I was then going outside of my macros and over dieting. I was
Yeah.
eating less than Dean was telling me to eat. I was doing more cardio than he was telling me to do, which I already know just doesn't work for my body. So then I was getting flat. I was getting watery. Fat loss was stalling. I was making the entire process way harder than it needed to be. I was ended up doing 45 minutes of cardio in the morning. I was doing 45 minutes of cardio post workout. I was doing 15,000 steps a day. And I got down to like 1,600 calories at that point as well. And condition still wasn't budging. My weight literally was not moving. Everything was working against me.
Digging
And
a
my mind,
hole.
digging a hole. I'd way overreached, digging a hole. But condition was to the point where we're like, we didn't have time to pull back either. Like, generally,
Mm.
that's the time to pull back. But I'd put myself in a position where we didn't have time to pull back. So I just put myself in the worst position possible, and I definitely wasn't enjoying it, and that was the one that I placed, and I actually really struggled because the whole time, like afterwards, I was like, you don't deserve that. I was like,
Yeah.
in my head, it's like you get that real bad imposter syndrome where you get the real negative self talk, and I was just like, you don't deserve that. Like you shouldn't have placed. People should have beat you. This person looked better. That person looked better, and I struggled with it for a long time.
Did at any point like did Dean, because I know like Dean's pretty switched on with like his guys and that, kind of noticing that like you seem to have maybe been getting stuck in a situation like you said, he kind of like did you voice to him, hey, I'm doing all this extra stuff, like, or did he come to you and go, hey, what's going on, like how did you kind of
No, there
like
definitely was. There was a few times
navigate
where,
what
yeah, there
ended
was
up
a few
happening?
times where we'd have a phone call, so it's like I have to catch up to speed, and I just said like I'd been doing way more cardio. I'd been under eating, and then I'd like dug myself into a hole that you like. I'd be like, okay, well, actually, I under ate by 100 carb 3 days in a row, so now 300 carbs up. So I'll add that back in today, and then I'd overeat for that day, and then go. fuck, what I do that? I'm just going to do more cardio again. So then I go do 2 hours on the stepper and just
It's
be
a terrible
absolutely,
cycle.
man, it's the worst cycle. So then I'd try and reset with Dean. I'd catch him up to speed. He'd just be
Yeah.
like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We'd get a plan going forward. And it'd work for a small amount of time again. But I'd already done the damage. Like even every time we reset, I was just so far behind in conditioning and where I needed to be that it's just like the requirements of me, like cardio was still too high. Like, and don't get me wrong, there were still times where we'd get glimpses of the look being exactly where it needed to be. But I think people underestimate like the mental side of bodybuilding as well. I just think because I was in such a negative headspace, it just things weren't working. And I don't even think it was as much of the dieting and stuff. It was more my headspace than anything else as well.
Was it like, obviously don't have to go into details, but was it external things that was happening, or was it just the prep and how you kind of were mentally feeling throughout the whole situation?
Probably all of it. Like there was a lot of external pressures where I was doing face to face personal training at the time, and then because of prep, I just wasn't putting in the work that I needed to do to earn good money. So again, I was really struggling to earn money. I was blasting through money through prep as well, and then I wasn't enjoying my work because the clients that I was getting wasn't aligning with what I like the style of training that I enjoy. So it was just that vicious cycle of at that point in time, nothing felt right. It was just like between the prep, I wasn't holding myself to the standard I normally do. So there was a lot of negative self talk there. Then because I was so tired from prep, work starts to struggle, your relationship starts to struggle because you're just this absolute shell of a human that no one wants to be around as well. So it was just a massive shitstorm of
Yeah.
a situation where there was multiple times where I even thought like if this was a client, I'd tell them to stop. I'd tell
Yeah,
them
yeah,
this
yeah.
this isn't worth it. Like you need to stop. We'll reset and we'll do it again. But it's just that stubbornness. And when you don't, I wasn't telling Dean the exact position I was in. I'd never tell someone like typical male thing as well. You'd never tell someone just how much you were struggling. You
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
I can tick the boxes, so I'm going to tick the boxes.
It's like that weird it's like when your resilience is almost too high that you just kind of like, yeah, you don't care that you're just burying yourself. You just like, I gotta prove it. I gotta do it. It's just gotta be done. Like I'm a man. It like, it doesn't matter that everything
100%.
suck. I committed to this. And I think, at the end of the day, I think it is a trait that is like, it's like that funny whole stereotype of like, if you're a real bodybuilder, you're slightly crazy. Like you're just gonna like, send it. And I think that's what kind of like separates people that will win and will like, stay in the game the longest. And I guess are doing it for the right reasons, but it then backfires in situations like that.
100%. And that's where like anyone in that position should stop if you cannot like reset and get yourself into the right cycle and get your headspace back in the right point, get your body back in alignment, make sure your relationships outside of bodybuilding are a good point, make sure your work is good, like make sure you're in a position to prep. And even if that changes in prep, then just stop. Like it's not worth it because the backlash can just be exponential.
So would you say that the plan was, I guess, after how bad that prep was to kind of, were you wanting to take 2 years or 3 years off stage? Was it kind of like, I need to get everything resorted, be in a better place mentally to then step on stage?
100%. It was, I knew as soon as that ended, I was like, I cannot do that again unless I'm in a position to prep, which now I very much am. But the commitments I have now are so much larger that it's
Mm.
like we're now just trying to get a season that can align without travel and stuff like that is very hard. And we're thinking about trying to do maybe an international show because we're
Yeah.
traveling to Bali in January, then we're traveling to Japan in end of Feb, early March. That sort of cancels that season A. Then we're meant to
Yeah.
go to Italy and a bit of a Europe trip through the back end of the year, which cancels that season B. But we're trying to look once the schedule comes out for next year. I want to try and align an international show with some of that travel. So I might go compete in the UK or something
Yeah,
like
that'd
that,
be
and then
cool.
we'll do the travel after that.
Because I was gonna ask you, I was gonna say like, because I saw that you've been to a lot of different countries. I was gonna say like, have you ever thought about like doing a show overseas? Because you said your partner had done like New York and that. You
Yeah.
haven't competed overseas?
No, I've never competed
Yeah, yeah,
overseas. Yeah, no, she has, and we've traveled a lot. We spent 7 months after we competed in 2022. So it was I competed in 2022 with Dean, and I love that prep. Absolutely loved it.
yeah.
We sold our house. We lived in Burpengary, which is North Brisbane. We sold our house and then travelled for 7 months and absolutely loved it. And then relocated to the Gold Coast after that. And so we've moved to the Gold Coast now, bought another house down here, and sort of like reestablished ourselves in the Gold Coast now.
What's
And so yeah,
I was just gonna say, what's been your favorite countries that you've been to?
I love Greece, like going to Mykonos and
Yeah.
Santorini,
Cool.
Corfu, which is a much quieter town in Greece. Absolutely loved it. Switzerland is probably my favorite,
Yeah,
but
I
it's
want to go to
also
Switzerland.
it's absolutely amazing, but it's also very boring. So I think for a retirement plan,
Yeah.
Switzerland would be the best. Like
Golden.
there was one day we were in Switzerland and we had this we were staying in a hostel, but it was like we had our own room in this
Yeah.
hostel and stuff, and we were on this back balcony that was literally overlooking the Swiss Alps. So we were
That's
like
crazy.
eating our breakfast, overlooking the Swiss Alps, and Shirley had a bit of study to do. So I was like, "Oh, I'm going to go walk to gym." There was a gym not far from there, so I left the hotel, was walking to gym, and there were like paragliders coming down the cliff past the
So
Swiss Alps.
cool.
There's cows with like bells on their neck eating the
Yes.
greenest grass you've ever seen. I was literally just walking to gym on a Tuesday morning, just going like,
It's like, how
"This
is
is
this
crazy."
real?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
this is crazy. But then it's very expensive, and there's not a lot to
Yeah.
do there. So
Yes.
yeah, you spend a small amount of time there, and I absolutely loved it. But either you'd want to be able to retire there, or you spend a small amount of time, you enjoy the scenery, you enjoy the wildlife, and then you keep moving.
Yeah. I've heard that someone that I worked with very briefly, she was from the UK, and her partner, they backpacked all a bit through Europe and that, and they like hiking, so they did some hiking in Switzerland and that, and she said that's like by far like her favorite place. She's like, it doesn't feel real. You're there, and it's like you can't believe like what you're seeing, and
It's
but
like a
she said like
postcode.
unfortunately it's like pretty expensive.
Yeah, so postcode, postcard. It's like everywhere you look is just like picture perfect,
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. Every single place you look, everywhere you look, the people are friendly. It's like you're in a movie the entire time. I love it, but it's very expensive and there's not a lot to do there.
Is there somewhere that you haven't been that you want to go to?
I want to do Chinguitere, which is in Italy, which is like
Yeah.
a small coastal town. Chinguitere in Italy. I hadn't done Lake Como. So there's a few more places in Italy that we want to go to. We hadn't done a bit through Sicily and stuff like that as well. So there are more places that we want to do, but we've done Turkey, which I did my hair in Turkey. So I
Yeah.
did my hair in Turkey. I got my teeth done in Turkey, which is very classic. But then we did Spain, Turkey, Portugal, Greece, Italy. We spent a bit of time in the UK. We did Vegas, New York, LA. We sort of did a whole bunch. I can't remember Belgium. Yeah, gee, it was probably too much to remember now. I'd have to go back through it all. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
nonstop for 7 months. But I loved it the entire time.
Yeah,
It was it
I
was
think it's important. I think not it's crazy like sometimes like my partner she loves um like languages and cultures and travel um and she she's always like super baffled how some people like just like don't want to travel. And like now that we
yeah
kind of like we went to Japan last year for the first time, and we spent like a month there, and that was great. And then we just kind of came back from Japan again, and then we went to South Korea, and then Bali,
yeah
and that was really fun. And like we want to do a massive Europe trip, and I think like yeah, it's just interesting. Like I think it's something, especially after experiencing it myself. It's like I think every single person should spend like I think I would have to say it doesn't matter where, but at least like 1 to 3 months somewhere in their life, somewhere overseas. Like it's crazy that some people just like have never gone. Like I think yeah, her parents they've like never left Australia. That's like
100%. It can only be a
ah
positive. Which I was look as a young kid, I was probably that narrow minded like 18-year-old that was like Australia is amazing. Why would you want to leave
yeah
Australia? And Shoni was the one that wanted to travel, so we did Europe as like I think we were 20 or something like that at the time. We did a top deck tour through Europe, and that was like the first time of my eyes being open to just like there is a whole other world out there
yeah
that is absolutely amazing, full of experiences. You realize how small and insignificant a lot of our problems actually are when you get to go out and experience the world as a whole. So we did that, then we did the US a year or two later, then we did the US again a year or two after that, after when she was competing. And she wanted to do a very big, like she probably wanted to do more like a 12-month sort of trip. But when I was so like ingrained in the bodybuilding and competing, I was like, no, I can't. I can't step away for that long, so we are just doing the smaller trips. And it wasn't until we got married and then COVID hit, and we are sort of forced to sit still that I was finally like,
Yeah.
oh, actually, a bit of a trip would actually be nice. We
Yeah.
started to plan it throughout COVID, and we sort of used it as our like sort of like post honeymoon sort of thing. So we planned it all during that time.
It's exciting, exciting. Be nice to you been to Bali?
I haven't been to Bali. I've never been. That's one of the few places I haven't been to. So I'm nervous because obviously we all know a lot of people that have been to Bali, and I hear so many people getting sick. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm terrified of that. I do not like being sick. I had food
Yeah.
poisoning for the first time the other week, and it destroyed me. So I'm
It's
terrified now of getting something similar.
it's crazy. So yeah, it was the first time we went too, and yeah, same thing. Like I hate being sick. Like I'm terrible. I'm sick, I'm down. Like I'm real down.
Yeah, yeah,
And like we were because we got like the reason why we went back to Japan was because we got sick when we first landed. It was like we went in there winter when it was snowing and it was really hot here. And then like
yeah,
the first like day of travel, and I think like from because we kind of flew into Osaka and then we had to then catch the plane to Tokyo and then had to get a Tokyo down to Yokohama. And so I think like
yeah,
traveling, like the change of weather, and then like just like getting rained on and snowed on all the way down to like carrying the luggage. And I think, yeah, I just ended up getting sick. And the whole time while we were in Yokohama and Tokyo, we were sick. And I was like, damn, this sucks. So that's why we ended up when we went to Korea and Bali, we went back to Japan so we could go to see Tokyo, got sick again. I was like, this
yeah,
sucks.
yeah.
And
It can be
then
a real pain.
by the time so I was sick for 4 days. We're in Tokyo, and then halfway through Korea, I got a bit better. And so yeah, we're hella nervous about like getting Bali belly or whatever while we're in Bali. And like, please, please, we made it all the way through Bali. Didn't get sick at all. Couldn't believe it. We were there for like 3.5 weeks.
Yep.
Literally, I think the morning of, I like felt a bit funny, but I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'm just like really tired, exhausted, 'cause didn't sleep much. And then kind of like made it to the airport, and our flight kept getting delayed. So we ended up not
No.
leaving till like 1 a.m.
Yep.
And all I just remember was like it was like I needed to sleep. And it's like all of a sudden it was like every time the plane got delayed, it's like I got sicker and sicker. I was like, oh no, I need to like get on this plane and pass out. Got on the
Yeah.
plane, worst 5 hours. I literally thought I was gonna die. I kept like
Yeah.
feeling like I was fainting. I like went to the bathroom. I like fucking vomited. I was like, oh
Oh
my God,
no.
like what? I'm getting Bali belly on the plane. Like I was like,
Yeah.
was horrible, horrible experience.
Plane is definitely the worst time to get it.
Yeah. So I can imagine your what's the word? Worry.
Hesitation. Yeah,
Yeah.
worry. Yeah.
But I think like also kind of not expecting it, like what it was gonna be like. It's definitely like, and especially like hearing how much people love it. I think I definitely like enjoyed it. It's different, it's fun, it's cool. I think you'll like it. Um, I think what people do, we were like really diligent. I think people get complacent. Like we were constantly like make sure we're washing our hands, like with sand sanitizer. We are always
Yeah.
using bottles. We were like not eating out. We just literally every day ate at Pump Kitchen, like back from Jackson.
Yeah.
And like and yeah, I think probably eating there is like what made us not sick because we weren't apart from like a cafe that we were going to. I think people sometimes also they just kind of go to like the little stores, little um
The street food sort of thing.
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that catches them too because I was telling a work colleague about it and they were saying she was fine too. Similar thing happened to her. She went with a bunch of friends. She wanted to eat I don't know where, at like where they had been going the
Yeah.
whole time they were there, and then all her friends like, no, no, we were like on the way to the airport. There's a KFC in Kuta. And she's like, they're like, no, let's go to the KFC. Like we're going to the airport. Went to the KFC, all got sick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's like it's luck at the end of the day, but
Yeah.
I
And that's
think
what
we'll
everyone
have
says.
fun.
Just be, yeah, everyone just says, like, be smart with the water. Like, don't eat a lot of the street food. Be smart with your water and just wash your hands, use sanitize. Like, you just got to be a little bit more diligent than normal. But that's my goal for the trip is just to not get sick.
Don't get
That is my
sick.
only goal. Yeah.
100%. I love that.
Yeah.
Kind of to touch back on the like coaching because that's kind of like what has been really prevalent in your life right now.
Yeah.
First off, like what's it been like, I guess? So because you said you were your wife said to do some like back way back to like you should pursue the coaching.
Yep.
At the time, was she doing any coaching? Like, how did you kind of develop into your new, I guess, business venture together, like your new coaching service?
Yep. So she started coaching way before I did as well. Or not
Okay.
like I was doing bits and pieces alongside my full
Yep.
time work on the boats.
Yep.
But she dove into like she was doing a little bit of personal training, but then she got into like the online coaching. She's always a go getter. She's always so
Yep.
whatever she starts, she dives into 1,000%.
That's
So
awesome.
she
That's
got into the
mentality.
online, yeah, she got into the online coaching and stuff very quickly, and did very well at it. And then that's what sort of forced me to do it as well. And then I sort of followed suit after that. And we did it separately for many years. Many years we did it separately. And after my last bodybuilding prep where I just didn't enjoy it, I took a complete step away. So I wasn't working on the boats at all for quite a few years there. And after that prep, I was like, I think I just need a break. I think I need a break. So I ended up getting a good job working for the Port of Brisbane, which I thought would be like a good thing at the time. So I still have a good amount of online clients that have been with me for 5 to 6 years at this point, and I've sort of kept doing. I've kept them online. I've got working for the Port of Brisbane, and I was probably there for 6 to 9 months. And once you sort of, it's obviously like that. Once you step away, you realize like, oh shit, like why'd I do that?
Yeah.
So like I'd sort of stepped away, but obviously then once you like relieve that pressure, you sort of go, oh shit, like that is what I want to do. That's
Yeah.
what I should be doing full time. That's where my focus should be. I was just so out of alignment. I needed that time to like get back into alignment. And then Shioni was the one that she does cosmetic injecting and stuff like that. So she runs her own studio doing cosmetic injecting, and she wanted to launch this new business that she wanted to sort of because she's fit by Shioni previous to that. She wanted to rebrand herself as New Paradigm, and I was sort of helping her with it and stuff like that. And I thought for a long time about like mentioning to her like should we do this together, but it's never like I never wanted to impose on her. Sometimes you feel like a bit of a burden, so I didn't want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
She is such a go getter, and she really dives into whatever she does that I didn't want to feel like a burden, like I'd be pulling her down. So I was helping her as much as I could, but just sort of like it was her thing. And then she brought it up. She like because I was helping her, she was like, "Well, like why don't we do this together?" And I sort of said like, "Oh, I'd thought about that, but I didn't want to like this is your thing. I didn't want to like impose on you or force myself into your new adventure." And she was like, "No, this is amazing. Let's look at doing this together and see it if it will align, if we can make it work." So we got business coaches, and we sort of like laid the foundation. We sort of like mapped out the entire business and what it would look like for both of us to be coaches within it. And we sort of went through all the business mentoring and stuff, and they were like, "This will very much work." There's obviously a lot of people that do it successful, and you guys are even more a bit left field because she only is like she's very much she does breath work, she does a lot of mindset and not psychology, but sort of like so. I'll just say psychology for lack of a better word, but she does a lot of like mindfulness, breath work, and she's very much on that sort of like female holistic side of things. And then I'm very obviously like nuts and bolts training, nutrition, a little bit more like just grounded, even keeled male sort of thing. And then she's obviously very upbeat. So we've got very polarizing characteristics, and then strength as well. She's amazing at social media, and I'm absolutely terrible at it. So we have different strengths and weaknesses that play very well together. So
Yeah.
that was where the business sort of all came from. And once we launched and we sort of started to like work together as a team, it's done very well. It's done very well. We're attracting like all we both love every single one of our clients. Like we've attracted people that are very similar to ourselves that align very well with the business, and it just makes coaching an absolute breeze. Like
Yeah.
we just love every single one of our clients. The whole thing, it just like it feels super positive, and it just brings everything back to life. Where like you want to give it everything you can,
Mm.
and that's where like it just makes the whole process so much easier. But yeah, we've been doing that for only it hasn't been a super long time. We've probably launched it for 6 to 7 months now. It's probably been running.
It's not bad. It's all right. Almost at that 1 year mark now.
Yeah, it'll be early next year by the time we get to the 1 year mark or middle of next year sort of thing. And it's already at the point where I'm still working for the Port of Brisbane, and the workload is massive. Like I generally do anywhere from 50 to 60 hours on the boats, and that's not including travel. Like it takes me an hour to get there. Most afternoons, like an hour and a half to get home, and then
That's
obviously I
crazy. Yeah.
I do my own training 5 days a week, so I've got that commitment as well. Then all of my online check-ins spread across a few days. There's another at least sort of like 20 to 30 hours worth of work a week as well. And then trying to keep up with the social media side of the whole game as well on the side of
Yeah.
that and creating the content and stuff. So the workload at the moment is very high, but and there's light at the end of the tunnel when you're
That's
working
right.
towards like the bigger goal where
Yeah.
obviously the aim will be to step away from the port and just focus full time on the online and our business, which is what fills your cup. So that's
Yeah.
the end goal.
But I think it's cool. Well, firstly, I think it's cool that like I guess you can kind of use the traveling as kind of like your step away and kind of be able to put more focus onto the coaching while you're traveling and of course enjoy like their experiences in that. But because you're doing it online, you have that versatility where you can allow it to grow more while
Yeah,
you're overseas. But
100%. And those trips next year are only smaller ones as well. They're like the Bali trip is only just over a week. The Japan one's probably about 2 weeks. Later on in Europe will be 3 or 4 weeks. So then they're not big trips like we've done previously, just enough to get in the way of a bodybuilding prep,
yeah,
but nothing too extreme that'll interfere with business or anything like that.
I think it's cool. Like as someone myself who like works with my partner, I think like, some people say like you shouldn't, mix pleasure with business, but I think like it's same as what you said. It's same with me. Like our strengths and weaknesses balance each other out, and I think it's really nice once you kind of get that what's the word, harmonizing, and then you kind of end up in some way like you said, you've attracted all the right clients that you want. And I feel like sometimes if you didn't approach it as a team and you didn't do it together, you actually may not have, like you said, when you're doing it kind of by yourself for a little bit, during that prep, like, the clients maybe didn't necessarily align in that. So it's taken this time to have you and your partner to like balance each other out really well, which I think is like such a rewarding thing to be able to do that.
100%. And it's hard work. Like nothing is ever easy. And communication is such an important part. Like you need good communication. You need boundaries set in place, and you need to really work together. But then, like once you get those things set, it does like it just breeds such a good synergistic effect where everything falls within alignment, and you start like really progressing towards your values, which just means the entire thing is a positive rather than a negative. Where if you do it by yourself, like when I was doing it by myself, I'd be posting on social media more for the fact of like you feel like you have to. So
Yeah.
you just throw anything up, any photo that looks cool, you throw it up with a caption, any heavy set, you just throw it up because it's what seems important to you.
Mm.
But then once you dive into the business side of things more and you actually get a plan in place, like, okay, how are we structuring this content? Where are we building trust with our clients? Where are we providing value with our clients? Where are we sort of like extending our reach with what content? So like you start having a structure and you start seeing like what you're posting for what reason and the benefits that can come from that. And then once you start doing that and you see it all working and you go, oh, holy shit, this actually does work. And it sort of builds that motivation to continue then, and it makes the whole process a lot easier. When I was doing it, essentially just throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks, and
Yeah.
and then when it doesn't, you're just like,
You get demotivated. Yeah.
yeah, you're like, I don't even like doing this, and I'm doing it, and it's not working,
Yeah.
and it just starts that vicious cycle where
Yeah.
you then you get to the point like, why am I even bothering doing it? So you don't put the effort in, you don't get the results, and again, it just starts to all feel negative. And it's just because you're acting out of alignment. There's no
Yeah.
structure, there's no process.
It's that authenticity. It's like that's like one
Yeah, one
thing.
hundred
Like
percent.
you guys making the content together, or like even some of the videos that you've been doing of just yourself, like in the gym and talking and that, like it's like you feel more authentic, you feel more confident, and then it's like funny. It's like why like being yourself, like when you're making content, is just so important because it's like you can feel like people watching. It's like you can feel when something's authentic and someone's like confident compared to when you're just trying to make shit stick against the wall.
100%. And I'm very much someone that like I like to keep to myself in different ways as well. We always downplay ourselves. Even when you asked me to be on the podcast, I was like, what do you, like I'm a nobody. What do you want me to be on the podcast? I
Yeah,
haven't I've won heavyweights at a single IFBB show and it wasn't even a deep line. I'm always like I'm the first one to discredit myself in
yeah.
any way. So and that's the trait of a lot of people as well. So
It's
yeah, you can't
balancing
yeah,
act.
the balancing act for sure.
What is something like it's like I guess it's like a bit controversial, but I'm intrigued to just kind of hear what do you think is, because something that's always really, I guess, really prevalent now too with coaches and the whole science-based um epidemic, I guess, and then the bro science of it, which is, what is your opinion of someone who, as yourself, you've stepped on stage and even your partner have both stepped on stage and you've walked the talk of what you're doing as a coach? Like where do you kind of see compared to maybe someone who, hasn't walked the talk but is a coach? Like do you think that, people are, what's the right word? Do you think people are being too harsh against, like, the knowledge that someone can have, or do you think, it is important to kind of, I guess, lead by example?
I think it's definitely important to lead by example. So if it's there, there'd be a few different ways to answer this. It's like if there's the question like, should you trust a coach that's never been on stage themselves, even though they could be the smartest person in the world? And there are plenty of coaches out there that have never been on stage themselves, but they've prepped plenty of athletes that look absolutely amazing onto the stage themselves. But I am a bit of a believer of like, if you've never stepped on stage and you don't know what it feels like, it's very hard to relate to the end of the process.
Mm.
Like you don't if you don't know what it feels like and you don't know the daily requirements and the energy levels, I think it's very beneficial to have an understanding of what you're asking someone to do and what it feels like in those moments. So then when you are as a coach doing that yourself, you can resonate with people. You understand how they feel. You understand what is required of them. You understand the the entirety of their life, where you know the impact it has on relationships. You generally know you start to pick up on the traits like males will generally just start to pull away. Like
Yeah.
we start to get quiet, we start to lose a lot of our emotions, and we start to just withdraw. So you can see that within your clients, and you can make sure you are advising them the best way possible about like still keeping up social appearances, still putting in effort into your relationship, still putting effort to your family members, your friends, and things like that, and make sure they're not withdrawing. You can see just by the tone of their voice and their check-ins and stuff like that, like how
Yeah.
they're feeling. That like you can you can see the picture as a whole a lot more clearly, and it's a bit hard if you haven't been in that position to advise people to either if you're asking them to keep doing more or keep digging, and you can see if they're at the absolute burnout point. Like I think there's context is needed to every situation, and there are amazing coaches that have never been on stage and can still prep people to stage very well. But yeah, I'm definitely in the camp of I do believe a very good prep coach has done it themselves.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like the whole science to bro science, I think generally with most things, somewhere in the middle is always correct. And I think that's almost
Yeah.
it's almost the right answer for whenever someone asks, like, what about this or what about that? It's like generally somewhere in the middle is always the correct answer.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
yeah, an extreme in any subject is generally never the right one.
Yeah, that's correct. No, it's crazy. Like I was like watching like Fuad this new podcast with Mike Risotto, and they were talking about because like Fuad's being like super. Have you watched it or?
No, I've seen it pop up. I haven't watched that
Yeah,
one just yet. I've
yeah,
seen their previous ones.
yeah. Because there's a moment where it's like, 'cause he's like Fuad's like loves about that old school thinking of like chasing the pump and stuff, and it's just
100%.
funny like halfway through and like what Mike's saying is like kind of like what you said, and it is really like it's so contextual and individual specific that like
Yeah,
both way that's why it's like both ways kind of work. Obviously there's factual things that play a role, but it's like, yeah, it's so individual specific that just the middle balance is like the best way to go.
100%. And even with like this science-based lifting now, there's everyone loves to quote studies and things like that, and they're even doing studies on studies now. So they're even finding out for every new study that comes out, if you wait long enough, there will be an opposing study,
Yeah,
and then long enough after that,
there'll be
there'll
another one.
generally be there'll be another one that's going to be more accurate. Like
Yeah,
the length and partials that went absolutely nuts. Like
yeah,
length and partials when that first study came out. And then there was a second study that came out that actually said, "Oh, length and partials aren't that good. Stop doing this. Everyone stop doing them." And it's like I guarantee if we wait another 6 months, another study will come out that'll actually be probably correct.
yeah, literally. That's funny. That's very funny.
Yeah, I'm saying, and it's always like you said, everything is so like context dependent, and there's always a right and a wrong. Like if when they're the length and partials, you should know for an example, like when that came out, I think you'd be an absolute idiot if you just started doing length and partials on every single exercise for every
Yeah,
single rep. It's like they're just they're
so
using
crazy.
common sense. It
Yeah,
doesn't make sense. Where if you're saying maybe like your last exercise for chest, if you're doing some length and partials on your last exercise of a chest fly, it's like, sure, if you're doing that for one set at the end of that muscle group, you're probably going to get some extra stimulus. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. It it's interesting. It's like I think something that like bodybuilding and I think why I love it so much too is it's really that individuality and uniqueness to it. It like just it makes it special. Like, that's the thing. Everyone is going to it's kind of like one of my favorite sayings like is like you live alone, you die alone. It like sounds like a bit morbid, but it's meant to be from the point of view of that, it's also kind of says like every creative like lives alone and dies alone because it's like no one can kind of live the life that you have lived. Like you will leave this world with people by your side. You come into this world with people, you have your journey, but even as like twins like your biology, your genetics, your brain, you both experience something completely different, no
Yeah,
matter what. And so I think and that's what's so great about bodybuilding. Bodybuilding kind of also, I guess, mimics that. Like no, like we said, at the end of the day, every person's individual genetics plays a massive role of like, what's going to work for them, what their recovery, their skin, when they look like stepping on stage,
100%.
everything. And I think it's like what makes it such a special sport.
And it's the same as like coaching is in a nutshell like tailoring the entirety of bodybuilding or health and fitness in general is tailoring it to that person and
Mm,
their context dependent. Like you have athletes that are extremely strength driven. Like they'll be extremely strength driven. That's what they love to do. So like top set with back offs and lower volume and stuff may work well for them. And then you have other guys that strength isn't their main driver. Like they don't enjoy training heavy. You watch their videos and you know they've got more reps in the tank, and they're just not quite getting there. And then they may not. So it's like, well, if you're just driving low volume onto these people that it's not suited to, it's never going to work. Like, and
mm,
that's where you start to tailor and start to go, okay, for these people, you may need some higher volume approaches. You may need to lower the weight and make sure the accurate volume accumulation is where it needs to be. Like you can start to tailor it to the athlete or to the individual and like their specific needs. Where if you've got guys that are super strong and they get in there, they rip and tear, they love it. Cool, that low volume approach will work very well.
yeah.
Or if you got guys that they are a little bit more pump chasey and they don't enjoy getting under heavy weights, you look at their weights each week and they progress very slowly. They're not very strength driven. It's like, well, let's start to include a little bit more volume. Let's start to include a little bit more higher reps. Let's start to like force that workload somewhere else. And you just work with the individuals to find out what works.
Yes, enjoyment is key. It makes like
100%.
enjoyment leads to consistency, and then consistency leads to success.
And everyone says like everyone always says like what's the best meal plan, what's the best training split, and the generic answer is like the one you can stick to. And it sounds cliche, but it is so correct. There is no right or wrong in this game. It is the best application of like what is needed.
Hmm. Well, speaking of cliches, and not that, not that you're gonna say something cliche, but just the final question before we wrap things up is like, what would you say at the moment your current life mantra is? What are you kind of living each day by? What are you kind of reminding yourself of? For anyone listening to kind of like inspire. What is your you
Oh
kind
man,
of
I struggle with these questions. My life mantra is is at the moment it's probably gosh, this is the hard one. It's probably at the moment it's leaning towards a little bit more of like education and teaching, but I'm trying to teach like I hate using the word balance, but almost like just positivity and balance, like trying to teach people the right way to do these things or just a way to enjoy life. Like I think everyone has the right to enjoy their life. Everyone has the
Mm,
right to feel good in their skin and to feel confident in the way they look and to progress towards the goals they want to. And it's like as sort of like gay as that sounds, but I do believe it. Like everyone deserves to be happy. Everyone
yeah.
deserves to enjoy life and get after the things they want. And some people get lost along the way, and it falls on a few of us to help educate and put people back on the right path. And that's like at the moment that is where I'm getting enjoyment. Like I love that. I love that in my day-to-day life. So for me at the moment it's creating or facilitating my life to be able to do that full time
Mhm.
and to be able to help as many people as possible to sort of like experience that as well. Because I've had bad periods in my life and I've had great periods in my life. And obviously the great periods are so much better. So if we have people to guide us to either avoid those negative times or to get out of them faster, like if we can help people do that, then that's what I want to do.
Mhm.
Like that's but yeah, in terms of I don't know if that's a mantra or if that's even the right way to answer the question, but generally like what I'm trying to do with my life at the moment is exactly that.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think, and it's great, I think nothing, you know, I guess as cliche as this sounds, it's like the same thing. Like I love the importance of having, like you said, a happy life. Everyone deserves to be happy, like, it sucks that, we have to go through hard times. And I think it like, puts a smile on my face being able to listen to you feeling that same way and you being in a position that you're in as a coach where you can help people find that balance and go you can be happy and still reach your goals, because I think sometimes we take life a bit too seriously and or sometimes life likes to like kick us down and then we
100%.
get overthinking and stressed out and it's like sometimes we just need that person that can kind of pull us back out and go hey, we can find the balance and we can be happy. And I love that, yeah, you're in that position to do that. So I think it's a great mantra at the moment.
No, no, I definitely enjoyed it. And I think one of those old sayings of like being able to give 90%, 100% of the time is being able to give 110% for 60% of the time. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people in the bodybuilding world, or just in life in general, with like the way the world is at the moment, there's so many people overreaching, overextending, and just experiencing like burnout, experiencing
Mm.
financial difficulties and like time limitations and stuff. So if we can get out there and help people in any way possible to like find a better path, to be able to pull back, to be able to do things in a better way, like that's I don't know, that's what brings me happiness at the moment. So that's what I'm going to chase.
Yes. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Well, thank you so much for jumping on and joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
No, I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Like I said, when you messaged me, I was like, oh man, I don't know. I don't know if you're going to get many views on this podcast. I'm a bit of a nobody, but I've enjoyed the chat. I'm always
Yeah.
happy to talk. So anytime I can jump on podcast for sure.
Awesome. No, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm sure people who are listening are going to enjoy it. It's been great. It doesn't, I like, the point of it's funny. Like, I think about this a lot and I think like, it's funny. It's like half the reason of like why I started this podcast and then even kind of like, took a step back and then have like kind of rebranded it to like, the journal of a bodybuilder is kind of because it's like, I think, if I wanted to like, chase all the pros, chase all the, the top of the game people, like I can, but I think like what makes bodybuilding such a great sport, what makes, you know, life's so fun is like, being able to give the opportunity for it doesn't matter where you've placed, how well you've done, just being able to have a chat and like I said, it's like, this is like, a part in Australian Bodybuilding Journal of like, this episode is like an entry where like, cool, someone can come back and go, this is like, page two, page three, this is Jayden and this is his story. And I think, it's way more fun, yeah, giving people like not that you wouldn't have had an opportunity, but I think like, giving other people the opportunity that maybe, like I said, like, everyone's gonna give a pro
100%.
a
Yeah.
time on a podcast, but like,
Yeah.
maybe someone like, and sometimes some of the best conversations, like I remember one of the older podcast episodes I did was crazy. She was a wellness competitor and just like the stories and like lessons that you can learn from people. She what was it? She had epilepsy and like stepped
Yeah.
on stage and like just hearing that whole experience and that journey is just like empowering and it's fun. I think everyone has their own story to be told. So
100%. I think here in Australia as well, we have a very like large amounts of very good amateurs that are all very different, all
mm,
from very different paths. Like we have a huge pool of of top tier amateurs that all have amazing stories, and there's a lot of good people in Australian bodybuilding. I can't even think of people that I've met that I haven't enjoyed my conversations with, I haven't built good relationships with in Australian bodybuilding. So I think it's a very good atmosphere. It's only getting better. Every show that I've been to is always positive. You never see you rarely see the clicks and the negativity and stuff, which you did back in the day. Like every show that I've been to has been an amazing experience. Every person I've met has been an amazing person. Like I think we have a huge amount of positivity in Australian bodybuilding. So I think it's amazing what you're doing. You are giving opportunities to people that wouldn't get it otherwise. Like no one's going to
Mhm.
invite us nobodies onto a podcast. So it's cool to be able to get out and talk and experience that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I agree. Bodybuilding in Australia is better than ever, and it's going to keep getting better. And we're gonna allow the Americans, the Europeans, to know that we are here and we are coming, and we're gonna be on that. We're gonna have a bunch of our people over there, and we're gonna be winning shows and be on the Olympia. So
100%. We can only hope.
we'll get there. We'll get there. Well, yeah, like I said, thank you so much for jumping on, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.